first episode of the Bookworm's Bedtime Stories. Well, Christmas is almost here, so I thought I'd read us a Christmas classic today. How the Grinch Stole Christmas. It's one of my favorites. How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Every Who down in Whoville liked Christmas a lot. There's the little Who, he's got his wreath and he's standing there with it. That's a big wreath. But the Grinch, who lived just north of Whoville, did not. The Grinch hated Christmas, the whole Christmas season. Now please don't ask why. No one quite knows the reason. It could be his head wasn't screwed on just right. It could be perhaps that his shoes were too tight. But I think the most likely reason of all may have been that his heart was two sizes too small. And there is the Grinch looking all mean in his cave. Kind of looks like me in the morning when I haven't had my coffee. But whatever the reason, his heart or his shoes, he stood there on Christmas Eve, hating the Who's, staring down from his cave with a sour, Grinchy frown at the warm lighted windows below in their town. For he knew every Who down in Whoville beneath was busy now hanging a mistletoe wreath. And they're hanging their stockings, he snarled with a sneer. Tomorrow is Christmas, it's practically here. Then he growled with his Grinch fingers nervously drumming. I must find a way to stop Christmas from coming. For tomorrow he knew. And there we see the Grinch looking down at Whoville, drumming his fingers. All the Who girls and boys would wake bright and early. They'd rush for their toys. And then all the noise. Oh, the noise, 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 noise. That's one thing he hated. The noise, noise, noise. See, there are the Who's, and he's imagining them playing with all their toys on Christmas morning. Who else likes to open their presents on Christmas morning and have fun like that? That's cool. Then the Who's, young and old, would sit down to a feast, and they'd feast, and they'd feast, and they'd feast, 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 feast. While they would feast on Who pudding and rare Who roast beef, which was something the Grinch couldn't stand in the least. And there they are getting their on their food, eating. I love to eat good food too. How about you guys? And then they'd do something he liked least of all. Every Who down in Whoville, the tall and the small, would stand close together with Christmas bells ringing. They'd stand hand in hand, and the Who's would start singing. They'd sing and they'd sing, and they'd sing, 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 sing. And the more Grinch thought of this Who Christmas sing, the more the Grinch thought, I must stop the whole thing. Why, for 53 years, I've put up with it now. I must stop this Christmas from coming. But how? And there the Who's are all gathered hand in hand, and they're singing for Christmas. I love to sing a good Christmas carol. And he got an idea, an awful idea. The Grinch got a wonderful, awful idea. And there he is, he's got his plan. Alright. I wonder what he's gonna do. I know just what to do. The Grinch laughed in his throat, and he made a quick Santa Claus hat and a coat. And he chuckled and clucked. What a great Grinchy trick! With this coat and hat, I look just like Saint Nick. All I need is a reindeer. The Grinch looked around. But since reindeer are scarce, there was none to be found. Did that stop the old Grinch? No, the Grinch simply said. If I can't find a reindeer, I'll make one instead. So he called his dog Max. Then he took some red thread and he tied a big horn on the top of his head. And there's the Grinch trying on the Santa Claus suit. And there he is tying the reindeer antlers to his dog, Max. Don't tie reindeer antlers to your dogs, kids. Then he loaded some bags and some old empty sacks on a ramshackle sleigh, and he hitched up old Max. Then the Grinch said, "Giddy up!" And the sleigh started down toward the homes where the Who's lay a snooze in their town. There he is with him and Max, and they got the sled, and they're heading down to Whoville to steal Christmas. All their windows were dark. White snow filled the air. All the Who's were all dreaming sweet dreams without care. Then he came to the first little house on the square. "This is stop number 1, the old Grinchy Claus hissed. And he climbed to the roof, empty bags in his fist. And there he is, Max down here on the sleigh, and he's climbing up on the roof with a ladder. Then he slid down the chimney, a rather tight pinch, but if Santa could do it, then so could the Grinch. He got stuck only once, for a moment or two. Then he stuck his head out of the fireplace flue, where the little Who stockings all hung in a row. "These stockings," he grinned, "are the first things to go." And there he is, sticking his head out of the chimney, and he's going to get their stockings. Then he slithered and slunk, with a smile most unpleasant, around the whole room, and he took every present. Pop guns and bicycles, roller skates, drums, checkerboards, tricycles, popcorn and plums, and he stuffed them in bags. Then the Grinch very nimbly stuffed all the bags, one by one, up the chimney. There he is, stealing everything. That naughty old Grinch. Then he slunk to the icebox. He took the Who's feast. He took the Who pudding. He took the roast beast. He cleaned out that icebox as quick as a flash, while the Grinch even took their last can of Who hash. And there he is. He's got all the food stuffing it in a bag. We're not going to have anything to eat tomorrow. Then he stuffed all the food up the chimney with glee. "And now," grinned the Grinch, "I will stuff up the tree." And there he is. He's looking at that tree. He's going to shove that up the chimney next. And the Grinch grabbed the tree and he started to shove when he heard a small sound like the coo of a dove. He turned around fast and he saw a small Who, little Cindy Lou who was not more than 2. The Grinch had been caught by this tiny Who daughter, who'd got out of bed for a cup of cold water. She stared at the Grinch and said, "Santa Claus, why are you taking our Christmas tree? Why?" And there's the Grinch. He's getting caught. He looked surprised, and there's little Cindy Lou. She came down to get her a drink of water. But you know that old Grinch was so smart and so slick. He thought up a lie, and he thought it up quick. "Why, my sweet little tot," the fake Santa Claus lied, "there's a light on this tree that won't light on one side. So I'm taking it home to my workshop, my dear. I'll fix it up there, then I'll bring it back here." And his fib fooled the child. Then he patted her head, and he got her a drink, and he sent her to bed. And when Cindy Lou Who went to bed with her cup, he went to the chimney and stuffed the tree up. And there he is, lying to Cindy Lou and then sending her back to bed. Then the last thing he took was the log for their fire. Then he went up the chimney, himself the old liar. On their walls he left nothing but hooks and some wire. And the one speck of food that he left in the house was a crumb that was even too small for a mouse. And there he is, still in the log over here. And then over here we see the little mouse with a crumb of food. Then he did the same thing to the others whose houses, leaving crumbs much too small for the other whose mouses. And there he is, doing it to all the houses, and all the mouses, all the mice have nothing but one little speck of crumb. It was 1/4 dawn, all the who's still abed, all the who's still a snooze, when he packed up his sled. Packed it up with their presents, the ribbons, the wrappings, the tags and the tinsel, the trimmings, the trappings. There he is with all the who's stuff, and he's going back up to his mountain. "3,000 feet up the side of Mount Crumpet, he rode with his load to the tip-top to dump it. Pooh, pooh to the who's, he was grinchiously humming. They're finding out now that no Christmas is coming. They're just waking up. I know just what they'll do. Their mouths will hang open a minute or two. Then the who's down in Whoville would all cry, boo-hoo." And there he is. He's going to dump the sleigh with all their Christmas stuff right off that mountain. That's really mean. "That's a noise," grinned the Grinch, "that I simply must hear." So he paused, and the Grinch put his hand to his ear, and he did hear a sound rising over the snow. It started in low, then it started to grow. And there he is holding the sleigh, and he's got his hand to his ear. He's listening because he hears something. He thinks he's going to hear him crying. Wonder if they're going to cry. But the sound wasn't sad. Why, this sound sounded merry. It couldn't be so, but it was merry, very. He stared down at Whoville. The Grinch popped his eyes. Then he shook. What he saw was a shocking surprise. And there he is. He's all shocked because he's hearing a happy sound when he expected them to all be sad and crying. Every who down in Whoville, the tall and the small, was singing without any presents at all. He hadn't stopped Christmas from coming. It came. Somehow or other, it came just the same. And all the who's are down there singing, even though they don't have no decorations or trees or a feast. There they are. They're still singing a happy Christmas song, all just the same. And the Grinch, with his Grinch feet ice cold in the snow, stood puzzling and puzzling. How could it be so? It came without ribbons. It came without tags. It came without packages, boxes, or bags. And he puzzled 3 hours till his puzzler was sore. Then the Grinch thought of something he hadn't before. Maybe Christmas, he thought, doesn't come from a store. Maybe Christmas, perhaps, means a little more. And there he is. He's starting to realize that it's not all about presents and food and decorations. And he's kind of shocked. And what happened then? Well, in Whoville they say that the Grinch's small heart grew 3 sizes that day. And the minute his heart didn't feel quite so tight, he whizzed with his load through the bright morning light. And he bought back the toys and the food for the feast. And there you go. You see, he's coming down the hill with their sleigh. He's going to bring all the Christmas stuff back because he realizes that that Christmas has much more meaning than what he thought. He himself, the Grinch, carved the roast beast. And there he is carving a roast beast with little Cindy Lou Who. I love that book, boys and girls, because it really shows us that Christmas is about so much more than presents and food and decorations. Those things are nice, and we all love them. But the important thing is being with the people you love and the joy we feel with our friends and family. So go out and always try to remember to spread a little joy and positivity, guys. I hope you have a good night and sweet dreams. See you next time.